Dr. Jazz.
Cool. But thanks for finding the time. Appreciate it.
Oh, lovely.
What
I'm
was
glad.
just listening to the new album just before, like a tiny little inkling. I played it like 4 times. I love that violin intro, the pizzicato stuff you're doing, and I want to start with the new album. I mean, it's such a wonderful group. I know the trio that you had with Kenny Wallace,
Yeah,
like back in what 15 years ago already, almost, or
yeah,
14.
yeah.
And what's the story about the new one? I mean, I know it's like you're upgrading. I guess the next one will be on Onette, but what?
That's kind of been the way we've been going. Well, we started out, Tony and myself, just kind of playing in my living room. And when we thought about recording what was going on, we wanted to add a percussionist, and Kenny was a natural choice.
Mm.
How it got to the sextet size, Jessica has been interested in, she participated in producing the previous two. So she's always been interested in playing.
Mm.
And the quartet record, we used Marika
Yep.
as a bass a lot of the time. And that's, I figured, well, why not switch it up a little bit, get a real bass player, and then Marika's free to do some other things. So that's how we got to 6.
Mm. Interesting.
Yeah.
What about the writing process? I mean, how did you guys do that? I mean,
This was slightly different than the previous two. The previous two was just, we picked tunes that we had, either myself or Tony had written, or we just improvised on the spot.
Yeah.
This time we were working with a grant from New Music USA. And part of the grant process was they want to know what the project entails. And so when while I was applying for the grant, I had to think of something. I said, well, it's going to be about songs from scriptures, all different kinds of scriptures from around the world. It's something that I'm interested in. I've been thinking about it for a while, so it wasn't completely out the box. But then it's sort of, I won't say limited, but it directed on how we were going to go, what kind of songs we were going to do.
mm. Okay.
So that's how we got to this particular one. So that meant that I went through a few different, I went through the Tao Te Ching and a few Buddhist scriptures and some Christian business and some Hindu things, and came up with things that I thought were singable, right? And then we built the music around that.
Mm.
And
Okay.
I asked Tony and Jessica in particular if they would write something with the scripture thing in mind. And I think they did.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
beautiful. I also love the communication between you and Tony. I mean, what's your story with Tony? Like you guys go way back, even before 2010, or?
Yes, we were in a band together with Peter Applebaum.
Really? Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Peter Applebaum has a band called the Hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
He's got an East Coast version and a West Coast version. I think Tony might have been in both versions, because he and Peter and Jessica go back to high school days.
Okay.
I met Tony and Jessica performing in the Hieroglyphics East Coast version. And now I get to see him. We go up, I do something once a month up in Kingston, New York. The composer, creative music, Carl Berger's thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So Peter does a conduction up there once a month. And Tony usually comes and I usually come, so I get to hang out up there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Wow. Nice. Well, what about the name of the group? I mean, pitch, rhythm, and consciousness. Like, where did that come from? I mean, in a way, it makes sense because when you listen to it, but still, like,
Yeah. Well, pitch, rhythm, and consciousness was Tony's suggestion for the very first record.
mm,
And I think he just he thought of that because those, in fact, are the components that make music.
yeah,
So that was kind of straightforward. Then both he and I have an interest in some sort of spiritual endeavors, some sort of consciousness integration, if you will.
yeah.
And I think that I always try to make that part of the music. That's something that I can express my inner feelings and hopefully touch what other people are feeling inside as well. So that's part of the consciousness part of it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Uh, I've checked today, and I have you on so many records. From Cassandra Wilson to James Blood Ulmer. I mean, I'm a
Right.
guitarist. Otherwise, I'm friends with James Emery, so I have lots of string
Oh,
Three of New York records. And
yeah.
but I wanted to ask you today, since I have you here, like, how did you start? Actually, I mean, when I hear you playing, there's so much influence in you, like from I'm so lonesome that I could cry on Cassandra's. It's like a country vibe. Then you go like into some free improv stuff and like.
Right.
How did you decide? What was your path? How did you decide to enter the improv world or the jazz world? I mean,
Well, it was kind of a slow process and a little bit organic.
hmm,
I first started improvising on the violin in high school. I went to the High School of Music and Arts, so I was surrounded by a bunch of other musicians, and some of them were, this is the late '60s,
hmm,
so it's a time when it was a lot of, it was a fruitful time for music in general.
absolutely.
We were getting a lot of influences from the East and from Africa and from South America. And classical music was trying to spread its wings into unknown territory, and it was the beginning of electronic. So a lot of stuff was going on. And my first foray into improvising was in a blues band playing the harmonica.
Oh wow. Okay.
Blues harmonica, yeah. But then at the High School of Music and Art, I started to do some improvisation with other violin players. And we would kind of lean in a quasi-classical direction, right? So not so much bluesy, not so much no swing, but making it up as we went along. Pretty soon after that, I started to plug the violin into an amplifier.
Okay.
And once I plugged it in, I was influenced by my music hero was Jimi Hendrix back in those days. And one of the things that Jimi Hendrix was such a master of was, besides rhythm guitar and some great leads, but he's a great wah-wah player.
Mm-hmm.
So I attached the wah-wah to the violin and started to use that. And it opened up a kind of a new sonic area for me as far as improvising on the violin.
Oh yeah.
And it made the expression, particularly in trying to play the blues, because the first thing I tried to play was the blues. And it kind of opened up an area that I hadn't been able to get to before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this is all when I was fairly young, teenager and maybe early 20s. And then, in those days, I didn't have any family or responsibility, so I was kind of a vagrant wandering around here and there. Hippie days, so there was a lot of communal living and free this and free that. And in the process, I wound up playing music with a lot of different kinds of people.
Mm.
Jazz musicians, because there was free jazz was popular and available at the time. And my vocabulary in terms of having a jazz vocabulary, was kind of limited. But I was happy to jump in and do my best.
Good ears, yeah.
So you kind of learn as you go in that way. Well, slowly but surely, I figured out some of the vocabulary. Oops, I'm sorry, lost myself. Some of the vocabulary and some of the ways to approach jazz and blues rhythms and phrasing. That made a big difference. And then when you start learning, a lot of people start learning the violin in the classical world.
Yeah.
And in that approach, you learn a lot about how to play the violin and how to make the sounds, but oftentimes you don't really learn what makes a proper phrase.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a minute to actually figure that out. Oh, this is, you can communicate in sentences and paragraphs and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
But in any case, the whole process was and is an ongoing one. I still don't feel like, the guys who are jazz masters have a huge vocabulary to draw from and a harmonic knowledge that I still don't have. So I'm still trying to work my way up the ladder, as it were.
I definitely, because of that, I think you created your own sound, right? Because
in a way, that's true. Yeah.
And playing with those guys like Blood Ulmer and I think that's great in a way. It's like that's how we make our own personalities, musical, and it's important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You mentioned Jimi Hendrix, so now you kind of almost answered my question. That's because that kind of almost naturally leads to James Blood Ulmer to me. I have I think 3 records with you on his records, and Odyssey, obviously one of the most epic ones, I think, from the mid '80s, and
right.
I've listened to that stuff so much, along with Sonny Chirac, and how did you connect with James? Well, what's your story with him?
We have a mutual friend, James and I, a guy named Doug Hammond. Doug's a drummer.
The drummer, Doug. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine. Yeah, he lives in
Isn't
Austria now. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, back in those days, I met Doug when he was out in California, and we put out a record together called "Reflections in the Sea of Nirnin."
Oh yeah, you're on that record. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's like 77, right, or 76?
Somewhere there.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
And so in the 80s, I had just gotten back from overseas. I spent a year in Italy messing around trying to play music, etc. I came back. I was visiting Doug, who was living in Brooklyn at the time. And while I was visiting, he got a phone call. Phone call was from Blood. And Blood says, they chat back and forth. And Blood said, well, I'm looking for a violin player. You know anybody? I'm standing right there. So I got on the phone, we said, blah, blah, we set up a time. And I went over to his studio on Spring Street in Soho. And we rehearsed a few times, me and him and a drummer. I don't think we had a bass. Maybe we had what's that bass player's name? Can't remember. But Warren Benbow and myself. So eventually the trio was formed. And part of the reason he decided to go without the bass was for the music he had in mind, the violin could cover a lot of the harmonic territory with that kind of drony sound. Yeah. So the wah-wah came in handy for that as well.
Yeah. I love that band. I mean, it's such a... That record, especially Odyssey,
that's a lovely record. Warren just passed away a little while ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh shit, really? Yeah, you guys played along together also with Brandon. I love the trio, Breath of Air. I mean, it's such a nice. I mean, I'm a fan of Brandon as well, and so beautiful.
Yeah, he'd been sick for a while.
Oh shit!
And finally he succumbed.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, it's
But
interesting.
Blood's still going strong.
Yeah, I know. He played in my hometown, Maribor, like 2 years ago, I think, where I'm
Oh,
from.
is that right?
Yeah, in Slovenia, he did a solo gig, like blues, like old school
Yeah,
roots.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
I mean, amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still going, and he must be like 80 or something already, right? Or even more.
He's got to be close to 85 at this
Oh,
point.
wow, yeah, incredible,
Yeah,
man. So much
yeah,
energy still.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about James Emery, and how did you become a part of the string trio then? Because you kind of had it probably going at the same time, or did one come after another, like Bloodstream and?
Um, there was a little bit of overlap,
Mm,
but the string trio was kind of after the Odyssey record.
okay.
After the Odyssey record. So let's see, we probably did a year or maybe a little bit more touring that record with Blood. Did Japan and Europe and
Oh,
went out of different places. Then after that, Billy Bain dropped out of the trio to start to make his own band.
yeah.
That's funny. I was just listening to one of his records yesterday.
Man, he was a monster, right?
Oh man, it's great, fabulous, one of the greatest.
Yeah.
But they were looking for somebody, and my name was around town because I was playing with Blood essentially. So I don't remember if it was John or if it was James that called, but one of them, and we got together and it seemed to be a good fit.
Yeah.
That lasted for a while. Lasted for probably 5 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear in that context, because it's completely different than what you done with Blood. It's
Yeah.
really a
Yeah. Yeah.
cool
Change
other
of
side.
pace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So beautiful, yeah. You mentioned, being on the scene. You became part of so many projects, like you mentioned Peter Applebaum, and then there's like the orchestra with Steven Bernstein, and how important was Cassandra's project, Cassandra Wilson's? Like, did you also tour with her, or did you just do records with her? And
No, I toured.
oh, you did also. Oh, wow.
Yeah, toured for a long time with Cassandra. In fact, she called maybe a month ago. She's getting ready to play Saratoga Festival
Oh, wow,
in the
beautiful.
end of June. So I think we'll probably get together again.
Oh man, fantastic.
Excuse me. Um, Cassandra's a super wonderful musician. Aside from being a beautiful woman and a wonderful singer, she's really a deep musician.
Mm,
Uh, did I learn from her? I kind of it grew on me. Let's put it that way. It grew on me the fact that you could take almost any material that didn't have to be from the jazz world or
yeah,
from the whatever. You could take anything and make it your own if you approach it the right way, which is what she did.
yeah,
Yeah, so that was, and she introduced me to a slightly larger audience because she was such a diva and so famous.
yeah.
So,
How did you guys
and I
approach
got to
those records?
huh?
How did you, as a violin player, approach those records? Like, I listened today to that tune, "Warm Little Death," which is such a cool tune. I mean, it's a dark tune, but beautiful. Like, was that completely
Uh,
improvised by you, or did you guys have arrangements? Or
Sandra didn't or rarely had specific parts for me to play.
okay,
I'm kind of making up my parts.
you're like the beautiful X Factor.
The X Factor. But that was true for most of the, she might have a bass line in mind or she might have a specific groove that she would want to get to. But for instance, in the guitar chair in her band, sometimes it was Marvin, Marvin Sewell, sometimes it was Brandon Ross. Those guys play completely different.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it was both of them together. So with her, you know, you could play anything that fit. Let me put it that way. She was not. She didn't have put guardrails up that you couldn't go past. Anything that fit the song, she would allow in there. And the other thing that was a joy for me with Cassandra's band was she had some of the greatest musicians. She had some, you know, aside from the guitar players that I mentioned, she had John Coward on piano for a while. Lonnie Plaxico playing his bass. Great musicians. So that's always fun.
Yeah, I love those records. That's Blue Light and the New Moon Daughter. I mean, those are. If you still put them on, they sound so modern still, you know, and it's like 30 years ago.
Right.
Incredible.
That's exactly right.
Incredible. Yeah. Did you ever lead your own bands already in that period, like 80s or early 90s, or?
In the 80s and the early 90s, I might have. Well, in the very early 80s, when I was overseas, I was leading a quasi reggae band in Italy.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. But when I got back to the States, I was trying to make a living, and that for me meant getting with somebody who had work already.
Sure.
In the 80s and 90s, I didn't really do that much of my own. I might have played a show here and there, but I didn't record anything on my own in that era. Yeah. Nowadays, actually, I'm trying to aim myself a little bit more in that direction for a couple of reasons. And one is that I like to sing these days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So rather than inflict that on somebody else's band, I just make my own band and go at it that way.
So that's something new that's been brewing or?
It's been going on for several years now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's been going on for several years now. I play a weekly gig at a bar in New York called Sonny's Bar out in Red Hook in Brooklyn. And that's a lot of singing and playing. Singing some old American songbook tunes, some old blues, country tunes, all kinds of stuff.
Oh man!
Yeah,
okay.
So I write a little bit, and I like to sing a lot. So that's making me to where nowadays I might book my own band twice a month, maybe once or twice a month, something like that.
Super. Are you going to record that music as well, or are you planning to? Or?
I am planning to record it, actually. Yes.
Beautiful.
Wow. Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And you know, part of that process has been recording with Eureka Shoes. I don't know if you know that band.
No.
Eureka Shoes is a singing trio. Myself, Sky Steele, another violin player, Gene Rowe, singer-songwriter, guitar player, singer, and Rashawn Carter.
Oh, wow. Okay. Bass,
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's a lot of, you know, it's almost more folky than anything else. But, you know, 3-part harmony and la, 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 la.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know Marika Hughes?
Yeah, sure.
Marika has a place up in upstate New York that she bought and turned into a musician's retreat is the wrong word, but she, you know, she does recording up there and rehearsals, etc. So she's the one that set us up to record that record, the Eureka Shoes. Eureka Shoes, the name of the record is Butalina.
Beautiful. Yeah. Is it out already, or is it's coming out?
It's out.
Oh, it's out. Oh, shit. Okay, I have to check it out. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. You can find it in Spotify or any of those.
Everywhere. Okay, beautiful. I didn't know. Fantastic. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Just Charlie, not to take too much of your time, I have two more questions. First of all, how did you end up on that Living Color record, by the way? Uh, Time's Up as a part of that string section, and
Mhm. Well, I know Vernon for a long time,
hmm,
from back in the days when he was playing with the Decoding Society, Ronald Shannon
yeah,
Jackson.
yeah, sure.
Remember that?
Oh, amazing
So
record.
we were often on the road. We were often on the road at the same time as the Odyssey band. So I would run into him all the time. We got to know one another um, back in those days. And when he got that, he calls me for when he's looking for a violin player. He often calls me.
Okay, beautiful,
That came about, yeah.
beautiful.
And he did some stuff with Blood and the Blues, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vernon Reid was the producer of those. Got to be at least three blues records that Blood put out.
Oh, I have to. I wasn't even aware of that. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Oh man, you got to check it out. Uh,
I mean, I have
with
so many records by Blood, but I didn't know who the producer was. So. Well.
yeah, Vernon produced. We recorded one at Sun Studio in Memphis. We recorded one at Electric Ladyland
Mm,
in New York, and we recorded one at a studio in New Orleans. Can't remember the studio name, but all blues, all classical Chicago blues.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Werner loves that as well. Yeah. Sure. I mean,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Beautiful. What's the schedule for you for this year? I mean, do you have any plans of coming to Europe also, or?
I haven't been to Europe for about 2 years. And
Okay.
the last time I went, I was mostly in Denmark and Spain,
Okay.
playing with Kirk Knopke
Sure.
and two two Scandinavian rhythm guys, bass and drums. Um, I don't get over there that much, to be honest.
Yeah, it's changed after COVID, right? Also, I mean, it's a little bit.
I think part of it is COVID, part of it is economics,
Yeah.
because some of the small clubs are working on kind of a shoestring budget in any case. And then when you add in the hotels and airfare and whatnot, kind of becomes a dicey situation. And now with the president that we have in office,
I know. Yeah. I will not even go there,
in
man.
any case, I don't have anything booked at the moment for Europe.
Okay. But you're gonna
We're
promote the new record, the Sextet, in the States at least, or?
we've got to do one at least in New York City,
Yeah.
at least in New York City, and then we'll probably do one up in the Woodstock area near where Tony and Jessica are.
Oh, fantastic. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Now, Samo, are you doing this as a podcast, or how do you
Yeah.
work?
I usually leave it just as a whole, as like now we did like a half an hour free improv, and I just cut the
Mhm.
beginning and the end, and I make a sketch of you, and
Mhm.
then I put it out. Like I think it's gonna be out like in 2 months or something like that. So,
Fabulous.
and
Wonderful.
it's like an interview of you to present you, and I've done this
Great.
like with more than 500 musicians, like
Oh, fabulous.
just to
That's a
create an
bonus.
archive of I don't know,
Yeah.
hopefully for the future interested generations.
Wonderful.
You know,
Wonderful. That is much appreciated.
yeah, appreciate it to take the time.
Send me a text when it comes out so I can take a look at it.
I will, definitely. And thanks again for
Great.
finding the time. And if you're going to be in Europe, drop me a line. Maybe we can get together for a glass of wine
I
or
would love that. I'd
jamming or
love that.
whatever. So super. Charlie, thanks so much. Stay strong.
Thank you, baby. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Ciao, ciao.